We still do 7 NUFC Matters shows for free a week. But if you want to support the channel, there are a few ways of doing it. Hit the like button on each live broadcast or video. This helps the channel grow. Hit the subscribe button and select the all notifications options. Hit the thanks button to buy a super sticker. You can do this on the live chat too. You can also join our Patreon page or buy us a coffee at the link in all of our video descriptions below. We are also looking for sponsors. If you want our latest advertising rates and how you can get involved, then email John at nufcmatters1892@gmail.com. Thanks for watching.
Critics attack. It feels like I've been talking to myself again. But it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you. If I don't say the words, then maybe it's not true. And it feels alright when they come and say to you, you're the only thing that makes us all believe. And it feels alright where the worlds collide. Manipulation stands to make us break. What's that you said coming over you? You wish it upon a star. You wish it on a star. You are, you are, you are. You fight back, it's an all-out attack. It feels like I've been taken on the world's machine. Because I want it more than anyone can dream. You look back and it's all in the past. You tell me how you live by all the things you do. Well, you can be yourself, but maybe I'm not you. And it feels alright when they come and say to you, you're the only thing that makes us all.
Good evening. Welcome to NUFC Matters. No amigos tonight. We will be on tomorrow night, Saturday night, 5 o'clock. Professionals as well. Don't forget, it will be on Sunday at 5 o'clock. Both those shows will be live. But for now, it is welcome to George. We are going to recap last season because those were the days. For any of you who followed the series on here, will know that we are now fully up to date. Well, this is it. This is the final show, and it's going to be two-parter. Part 1 and part 2, because it was such a momentous season. George, good evening. What's your feelings about finally completing this mammoth task that we set ourselves?
Well, yeah, when I start to look back at what we've done, it's just incredible. I mean, it's quite a catalogue, isn't it? It's a whole library in itself.
Yeah.
What we've created. I mean, when we first started off, we were pushing to get an hour and a bit, but by the time the team got to be more successful and there was more to talk about, it stretched to 2 hours and beyond. So yeah, it's been incredible. But I've got to say, it's been a most enjoyable exercise. It's certainly kept my brain alive, sorting out all the information and all the rest of it. So yeah, we're up to date. It's fantastic. You know, and I've said to you, I've got one or two odd ones up the sleeve that we might talk about, but yeah, it's great, and we're right up bang up to date today.
Yes, we are. Okay, George, as always, I hand over the reins of NUFC Matters to you, so I'll just do the pictures, you do the talking. Over to you, George.
Okay, Steve. Well, everybody, I'll do what I usually do, you know, just talk about other things, as Steve's put some of the associated pictures up, like the team shot. Music wise, well, that was dead easy. Top 10 in that year. 5 of them were Ariana Grande, and then there was Teddy Swims and Sophie Ellis-Bextor, Benson Boone, YG Marley. Beyonce got one in, but it was really an Ariana Grande year in terms of the real success of music, it's not surprising when you look at the following she's got. And then in terms of the cinema, if you're someone who goes to pictures, the big ones were June 2, The Brutalist, which is a fairly, as the title suggests, fairly gruesome picture. And then there was the Ghost Light, and The Wild Robot. Not pictures I've seen, but enormous viewing figures and amounts of money taken in by those particular pictures. And then, of course, we get away from that and get into the real substance of what we're here for, and that's the football. And interesting range of friendlies at the beginning of that season. Suvic Unterchange, Burnley, Hull City, Dortmund, Yokohama, Mario's, Girona, Stade Brisottia, and of course it was a pre-season sort of Cellar Cup thing, wasn't it? Which we won, but it's interesting to see what we did. First game was a home game against Southampton, and not the best game. It was eventful in the sense that we had problems with the referee and Fabian Schär, but other than that, it was a backs to the wall game in some ways, because from nearly a half, well, more than a half, 28 minutes, Fabian Schär seen a red card, and all I'd say is I think most people like myself thought, yes, he might get a yellow card for what he did, but the red card seemed a bit harsh. But the referee was posted, of course, and he couldn't make his mind up. At first it was yellow, then it was red, and then VAR stepped in and he went to see the screen. And when they go to the screen, you know fine well what's going to happen. It's going to be a red card. Anyway, it was an interesting match to begin with, but a one which descended into backs to the wall because of the sending off. But the team come out of it quite well in some ways. And just before half time, Joe Linton scored a nice goal to give us a 1-0 lead at half time. But we knew that after that it was probably going to be a bit backs to the wall, and so it turned out, which you should expect with 10 men for that length of time in the Premiership. But as I say, the team did quite well. We started the season with Pope, Livramento, Hall, Schär, Byrne, Longstaff, Joe Linton, Guvaresh, Gordon, Jacob Murphy, and Isak. Southampton came with McCarthy, Stevens, Baddenneck, Hardwood, Bellis, Walker, Peters, Aribo, Downs, Smallbone, Sawanga, Breton, Diaz, and Armstrong. Diaz, of course, is the villain of the piece, because I think most of the crowd felt that his actions got Fabian Schär sent off more than anything. But nonetheless, it was 1-0. We never looked like losing the lead, because Southampton didn't seem to have the skill to break down were Stewart defence, and we ended up with a 1-0 win, which hard fought, but nonetheless we carried the 3 points. It's interesting that Brereton Diaz was always Brereton until this season, because he visited somewhere in South America. He came back with the Diaz and stuck it on his name. well, his name will be well remembered by Newcastle fans after this particular game. So we started with 3 points, which is the whole object of the exercise. And then we go to an away game at Bournemouth. Bournemouth, never an easy place to go, and we go with an unchanged, one change in the team. Kraft comes in because of an injury, so we got Pope, Levelamento, Kraft, Burn. Kraft comes in because Shaw's suspended because of the sending off. Kraft, Burn, Kelly has now moved to us. Longstaff, Guveresh, Joe Linton, Murphy, Gordon, and Isaac. Bournemouth, Neto, Aribo, Sari Nani, Sensi, Kalets, Cook, Christie, Sirimento, Clivert, Tavernier, and Everton. And always a reputation for playing football, Bournemouth, and they start this season in the same vein. Some attractive football, quite dangerous, some of it. But if we're going to do anything in this league, exactly the sort of team that we should be beating home and away. And we actually give a good account of ourselves, but unfortunately we fall to a sloppy goal to Tavernier, and we go in at half time 1-0 down, and that's a bit disappointing. But I don't think anybody thought that we couldn't catch it. With far from it. We went at them straight away after half time and put them under some pressure, and with some substitutes with Barnes, Trippier, Hall, Willock and Almiron all coming on with a big change, it put Bournemouth under quite a bit of pressure. And it was a great run and interchanging pass with Gordon and Joe Linton. And on 76 minutes, we got the equaliser. It wasn't a particularly dirty match, but 4 people were booked on both sides, which seemed a lot for a game which was not particularly dirty in any sense of the word. David Coote was the referee, and interestingly, attendance was 11,100, and 1,300 of them were from Tyne side, which is quite something. And the connection between the two teams, of course, is interesting. That we've got Callum Wilson, Ryan Fraser, and others and Kelly now from Bournemouth, and it's also in the Bournemouth team. You've got Clivert, who's the son of a former Newcastle player, and Tavernier, who's the brother of a former Newcastle player. So lots of things to join together. But the important thing is we came away with at least a point, which is what was we were hoping for. The next game is the second round of the Football League Cup, Carabao Cup, at Nottingham Forest. A game which all the pundits say we're going to have a problem with. 23,083 at the City Ground for Nottingham Forest, and we go with a slightly changed team with Pope, Trippier, Kraft, Byrne, Hall, Joelinton, Tonali, Willock, Barnes, Isak, and Almiron. And Forest have Miguel, Abbott, Oro de Deli, Bully, Moreno, Anderson, Dominguez, Silva Moreno, Jota Silva, Alwoni, and Sotes. And even this early in the season, Forest getting a reputation for playing good football. We it's interesting that from the off, it's quite end to end with both teams pushing forward, and in this game where we've got Tonali in the middle of the field, he's very involved from the off, and causing Forest all sorts of troubles with his strong running from box to box. We have of course to young Anderson in their side who left us in strange circumstances because of the PIF rules. Sorry, the rules about financial fair play. But we know what you'd get from him, and certainly he's very prominent in the game for Forest, pushing forward Silva and Sosa into dangerous areas for us. It's the game is wide awake from the off when Forest team stands still and watches. There's some good play down the wing, interchange between Tonali and Barnes, and Willock appears on the scene and almost walks the ball into the net to give us a lead on 1 minute, and we seem to be coasting at that, and we went in at half time at 1-0. The second half starts, and Forest have put all four substitutes on, which changes things slightly. Hudson-Odoi for Sosa is an interesting one. He's causing our defence quite a lot of problems. And then during that half as well, Elanga comes on for Anderson, and again the pace and shape of the game changes a little bit. But we're still hanging on quite easily to our 1-0 until on the 50th minute, Jota Silva fastens onto a loose ball, and in a flash it's 1-1, and is like that till the end, and we head towards the dreaded penalties, and that was quite something for us, because our history with penalty shootouts isn't brilliant, but on this occasion we do very well. The game itself is not marred, but is littered with bookings for Forest. Jota Silva, Abbott, Moreno, Dominguez, Sangue, all booked for Forest, and we have Hall and Guveresh for us. The penalty shootout ends up 4-3 in our favour, and we go through to the next round of the Carabao Cup. Next game is home game against Tottenham, and always an interesting game against Tottenham. We seem to save ourselves for Tottenham. They come and seem to set us on fire, and we set off with a quite changed team from the Carabao Cup team, with Pope, Livramento, Kelly, Byrne, Kraft, Longstaff, Julinton, Guveresh, Gordon, Barnes, and Isak. And Spurs, Vicanio, Dragusin, Odobi, Romero, Porro, Busama, Madison, Sarr, Son, Kuleveski, and Odegaard. A tidy Spurs side, but a one that we shouldn't be frightened of. And we there's some good play in the first half, some end-to-end stuff, and on 37 minutes, just as people were thinking they're going to go to half-time 0-0, Barnes cuts in from the left and unleashes an incredible right foot shot into the bottom corner, giving us a 1-0 lead that we hold on until half-time. Second half, Spurs make 3 changes, and it has an impact on their play almost immediately. And we have to battle to keep them out, and it's disappointing, but not entirely a surprise when Spurs get an equaliser. It's unfortunate for Dan Burn because it ricochets off the back of his head into the net, but it was really a Son goal, but it hit Dan last and in it went. So on 56 minutes, suddenly we're at 1-1, and people are thinking that we're going to struggle to get a point, never mind 3 points. However, shortly after that, the team picks up. There's substitutes come on. Murphy comes on. Tonali comes on. Hall comes on. And Almiron comes on. And it changes the shape of the team, which gives Spurs something else to think about. And they're really struggling against Isak all the game. So it's no surprise when on 8 minutes, Alexander Isak gets a very, very solo goal to make it 2-1 to Newcastle and get the 3 points which we so richly deserved. Again, a game that wasn't particularly dirty, but 4 bookings on each side. Saar, Basuma, Maddison and Bentancur. And for us, Kelly, Longstaff, Joe Linton and Guvarash, all booked in the same game. But a good win, because Spurs were giving us a lot of trouble. There's no doubt about that. Referee was Robert Jones from Merseyside. And attendance 52,211, which is as near a full house you'll get. And 3,220 from Tottenham, which is not a bad turnout for a team for London. And it was a game which is notable because our chairman, Al Ramayan, was present at the game, and I think people were glad to see him. Bear in mind, we just had we're just getting over the departures of Amanda Staveley and Mehrdad Ghodussi, but it was nice to see them there. And of course, in our back room, we have Darren Eales and Paul Mitchell, both of whom at some stage of their careers actually worked for Spurs. So an interesting afternoon for people in the boardroom. The next game is the one which Wolves away, one which we'd like to win. It's a game we should be winning if we're interested in doing anything in this league, and we go with Pope, Livermento, Shaw's back after his suspension, Byrne, Hall, Longstaff, Guvarash, Joe Linton, Murphy, Gordon and Isak. Wolves have Johnston, Sanamido, Masquerado, Dawson, Anthony Newry, Late Lamina, Andy, Gomez, Kuna, and Strand Larson. An attractive side, Wolves, but prone to letting goals in as well as scoring them. They have a poor goal difference already at this early in the season, but we know it's not going to be easy, and such is the case. And for most of the first half, it's nearly all Wolves. Penning is back a bit. We're relying on outbreaks from Gordon and Isak, getting fed by the midfield, and being so pressed by Wolves. It's no surprise on 36 minutes when Lamina gives them a 1-0 lead from a pullback from the byline and a nice drive into the bottom corner underneath Nick Pope. So we go in at half time 1-0 down. we come in the second half, and it's clear that we've had lots to say in the dressing room, because there's a complete change in attitude, if nothing else, but also in personnel. Because half time sees Barnes come on by Isaac, Willock for Joe Linton, and Tonali for Longstaff, and of course that changes the complexion of the Newcastle team at once, and we're starting to press Wolves back, and lo and behold, it's one of the blockbusters that we get used to from Fabian Schär, that gives us the equaliser on 75 minutes. He picks up a loose ball, bobbing around the edge of the area, and just dispatches it into the bottom corner, as is his wont. And from then on, it's all Newcastle with Wolves back to the wall, and we press, and within 5 minutes of Schär's goal, Barnes again cutting in from the wing unleashes an unstoppable shot to make it 2. So we've now got a 2-1 lead on 80 minutes, which we should see out without any problem, and we do. Nice 2-1 victory. 4 bookings on each side again, and a game which really wasn't that dirty. They were just silly trips and what have you, with Joe Linton, Byrne, Murphy and Tonali for us, Anuri, Samido and Andre for them, and Strand Larson. A tidy game, and a one which we really need to be winning if we're going to do anything. Chris Kavanagh, the referee this time, and an attendance of 30,200, and 3,000 of those, of course, in the way end from Tyneside. The usual full house support that we're used to with our team. The next game is another away game at Fulham, and our trips to London are notorious for giving us a bit of a headache, and this is no surprise, because Fulham have reputation of being a good side, and we are expecting this one to be tough, and I don't think we're disappointed, because Fulham start by playing some very nice football, and giving us lots to think about, and from the off, it's clear we're going to struggle, because on 5 minutes, Jimenez scores for Fulham to put us 1-0 down, and 22 minutes, Smith Rowe, ex-Arsenal players, makes it 2, and we're clearly struggling. This isn't a game which is almost as though we haven't come prepared, because they're playing us off the field in areas where normally we would dominate, particularly in midfield, and so we go in at half time 2-0 down. Everybody's hoping that second half will produce something better. Well, it does slightly, but not in the sense that it puts Fulham in any particular danger. Although just after half time, Barnes scores a nice goal to make it 2-1 and gets people's hopes up. But after that, Fulham settled down to play the game out, basically, and we don't look as though that we're up for this game, really. Our team this time is Pope, Trippier, Schär, Byrne, Kelly, Willock, Guveresh, Joe Linton, Gordon, Barnes and Isak. In the Fulham team, Leno, Tete, Anderson, Bassey, Robinson, Lukic, Prepera, Traore, Smith Rowe, Iwobi, and Jimenez, and virtually play out the game with those teams. Substitutes are made, but very late in the game, after 80 minutes for Fulham, and We have a couple just after half time with Hall going on for Kelly and Murphy for Willock. And towards the end, the last 10 minutes, Livramento went on for Trippier. But apart from that, it's a game we really weren't in. It was in that sense we didn't seem to compete the way we had for the rest of the games we had. And 25,800 at the match, and with the weekend 2,500 tickets absolutely sold out as usual, and we wouldn't expect less. So we now come home to a game against Manchester City, a game which we know is not going to be easy. This is the champions, and they always give us a tough time, and we don't expect anything else than that this time. And it's needless to say, a full house, 52,248, which is as near a full house as you'll get. And we turn out Pope, Trippier, Hall, Byrne, Shaw, Joe Linton, Tonali, Guvaresh, Barnes, Murphy, and Gordon. Manchester City have Edison, Gabadiol, Akranki, Ruben Diaz, Walker, Kovic, Lewis, Grealish, Goodegran, Bernard Silva, and Haaland. And that's a tidy side for anybody. But with Manchester City, they're all league winners. It's a good game. We give as good as we got in this game, and it's really we go we come close to scoring a couple of times, but totally against the run of play. Their fullback Gaviodal sneaks in from the left-hand side goes right across our penalty area, and toe pokes the ball in on 35 minutes, and we're a goal down to the champions, and look as though we might struggle, but far from struggling, we keep going at it. We don't sit back. We actually have a real go at them, and we go in with a 1-0 at half time, but with the hope that we'll pull something back the way that we're playing, because we're not lying down and letting them have it all their own way. And we've got Pope, Trippier, Hall, Byrne, Shaw, Julenton, Tonali, Guvaresh, Barnes, Murphy, and Gordon, and they're competing very well against the cream of the Premiership. Go in 1-0 at half time, down 1-0 at half time, but actually on the play could easily have been 1-1, or even better if we'd taken our chances. After half time, we make a couple of changes. Willock comes on to Barnes, Longstaff comes on to Tonali, and a bit later in the half, Livramento for Trippier. And Manchester City keep the same 11 until about 70 minutes, when they put Foden on, Doku on, and Savinio for Lewis on, as a means of trying to hold the thing up. We keep pressing, and it's a great run by Anthony Gordon on 58 minutes, when he darts into the penalty area from across the wing, and he's brought down by Ruben Diaz, and it's a penalty, and on 58 minutes, and Anthony Gordon gets up and takes it himself to make it 1-1. Another game where it wasn't particularly nasty, but 5 players on each side booked, which has seemed extreme at the time. Edison, Kovac, Grealish, Ruben Diaz, and Haaland. Shaw Guvaresh, Tunali, Joe Linton, and Murphy for us. Murphy's a weird handball situation, but never mind. So we end up with a 1-1 draw against the champions, which is no bad thing. Jared Gillett, the Australian-born referee, is the referee, and he has quite a good game, actually. I've got to say, and the commentator who always commentates on these things, who always commentates on the referee, agrees for a change. Yeah, it wasn't a bad game. So a nice draw against the champions is no mean feat, and could have been better if we'd actually taken our chances. We then have the next round of the League Cup against the AFC Wimbledon, and we welcome them at St James's Park. It's they're a club that's formed out of the history of the former Wimbledon club. An interesting side, of course, is that just before this game, there had been some incredible rainstorms, and back home at Wimbledon, their pitch had disappeared down a hole, one corner of the pitch. The rain had been so heavy it washed away the undersoil, and the pitch actually collapsed into the hole. And Newcastle United donated £15,000 to help them to repair it, which I think's quite a nice touch on behalf of our management and owners to do something like that, and wasn't lost on the Wimbledon supporters who came to this cup match either. So here we are. We're into the next round of the Carabao Cup. Some changes to Ravka, Livramento, Shaw, Kraft, Kelly Longstaff, Joe Linton, Willock, Almiron, Osula and Barnes. And it's good to see Will Osula getting a run out. Wimbledon, Goodman, Harbottle, Lewis, Onigri, Bella, Maycock, Ball, Hippofly, Tilly, Pigott, and Boudiel. Pigott, the big forward, has a reputation of being a bustling character, so our centre backs needed to be on the mettle, and we're given they're not going to play expansive football, and they sit back and hold us as hard as they can in the hope for a breakaway, so that there's nothing major happening, and it looks like we're headed towards half time with a 0-0 until just before half time we get a corner, and it bubbles about in the air in the penalty area until it falls to Fabian Shaw, who heads in a neat goal to give us a 1-0 lead right on the stroke of half time. Both teams make lots of changes at half time, but it still leaves the game a bit dour. It's not an exciting cup game, but one which we play out fairly straightforwardly and get a 1-0 advancement to the next round of the Carabao Cup. We then have a trip to Everton in the Premiership, and always an interesting trip. Goodison Park. I have to say, having been to Goodison Park over the years, not my favourite away ground. The old stand where they usually put the visiting supporters is ramshackle, and it's still an old wooden thing with beams all over the place. So if you're lucky to be sitting in a seat where you haven't got a beam in front of you stopping you seeing the match, you're very lucky. However, it's still a nice traditional football ground, and an interesting experience to go. And we go with more recognisable team from the one we changed for the Carabao Cup. We've got Pope, Trippier, Shaw, Burn, Hall, Tonali, Guvaresh, Joelinton, Murphy, Gordon, and Barnes. And they have Pickford, Garner, Tarkowski, Keane, Young, Dakor, Malanga, Harrison, McNeil, Neole, and Calvert-Lewin. Calvert-Lewin, a dangerous centre forward, but a one who has a history of lots of injuries, unfortunately. It's not the most exciting of game. It's quite dull, really, in many ways. And referees Craig Pawson, who isn't a favourite of the people that write these things, and he's already in being criticised for early decisions, which this reporter is struggling to get hold of. But nonetheless, it's still quite a boring game with neither team looking like they're going to break the duck, and but that's how it stays. It stays 0-0 at half time, and dribbles out to a 0-0 at full time. Quite depressing, really, and with no sense of anything special happening. The biggest talking point is that a penalty which should have been dispatched by Gordon and wasn't. After analysis afterwards, you can see that his foot was the turf moved before he kicked the penalty and left us with a egg on our face, and Gordon particularly, obviously, but not the best of games, and a one which we had to be grateful for getting the point to save our blushes. Next game is a home game to Brighton. Brighton always bit of a bogey side for us. We've come to expect difficult things from Brighton, and we expect exactly that from this game. With Pope, Livramento, Burns, Shaw, Hall, Joelinton, Guvaresh, Tonali, Murphy, Gordon, and Isaac. Brighton with Vertebergen, Veltman, Dunk, Igor, Kandro, Rutter, Belabia, Hinshelwood, Asparia, Ferguson, and Welbeck. Danny Welbeck, of course, the former Arsenal, Manchester United player, who always seems to find his form when he's playing against Newcastle United. But it shouldn't be a bother for us in this particular game. We set off 100 miles an hour. It looks like we're going to take the game by storm. But as luck would have it, to break away from Brighton in the middle of the half, 30 minutes, and Welbeck sneaks in at the far post and toe pokes the ball past Pope, giving Brighton a 1-0 half-time lead. Tries we don't seem capable of breaking down their defence to get an equaliser. It's disappointing, but it's typical Brighton, I'm afraid. 52,200 in the ground, nearly a full house as far as we go, and disappointing that the game peters out to that 1-0, and the 2,000 Brighton Hove Albion fans went home with a smile on the face, because it was in some ways a fortunate 3 points, because we really could have should have taken the game if we'd taken the chances that we created. but we seem to be in sort of almost half asleep to give the game away. We are now off to Chelsea, and always interesting place to go, but a game which we should be up for winning if we're going to do something in this league, and they're going to be one of our competitors. There's no doubt about that. So we go with Pope, Livramento, Burns, Shaw, Hall, Tonali, Guvaresh, Julinton, Almiron, Isak, and Barnes. In Chelsea have Sanchez, Gusto, Fontana, Colwell, James, Sakaido, Lavia, Mudeki, Palmer, Neto, and Jackson. A very, very tough young side, playing some decent football, with the pundits suggesting they might be up for all sorts of things, including the league this year. It's a interesting start, end-to-end stuff. Both teams could have scored, but in 18 minutes, the big centre forward Jackson does score. A header from a deep cross from Palmer, and it looks like back to the wall for us. But then, lo and behold, out of the blue, Alexander Isak with a bit of solo trickery finds himself alone in the box to make it 1-1, and that's how it stays till half time. So everybody's kind of hoping that we can keep that form and press it on till full time, but unfortunately, Chelsea have different ideas, particularly young Palmer, who ghosts in from the left-hand side and manages to slide the ball underneath Pope to give Chelsea 2-1 on 47 minutes, just after the half-time whistle. However, we have a go at them, and with a little bit of luck, we would have got an equaliser or better, but it just didn't happen. Again, a game littered with bookings, yet not really a dirty game. For Chelsea, for example, Fontana, Lavia, Mudweki, Sanchez, Neto, Nkutu, Maresca, all booked for them. Shaw, Tonali, Longstaff booked for us. And looking at our substitutes, of course, Ruddy, one of our 5 goalkeepers, is substitute, and his record of First Division and Premiership football spans 2 decades, so it's interesting to see him sitting on our bench. We have Simon Hooper as the referee, 39,526 as attendance, and of course the away end absolutely chock-a-block with over 3,000 Geordies. And interesting, the commentator is talking about a pre-match thing going on, some sort of special Chelsea thing happening, and Gianfranco Zola and Toriandro Flo were the guests of the club and were presented on the pitch before the game started. So an interesting piece of information for those that were able to go. Now the Carabao Cup next round comes up, and guess who we draw? We draw Chelsea, but this time at St James's Park, and so we've got to be on our mettle. We've got to be sure that we're up for this game, and we certainly are. So it's the teams are Pope, Livramento, Hall, Kraft, Shaw, Kelly, Longstaff, Joelinton, Tonali, Willock, Gordon, and Isak. Slight changes from the league match the week before, and Chelsea, almost a complete change in their team. Jorgensen, Desai, Adebayo, Baldassi, Cucurella still in, Vega, Fernandez, Dewsbury Hall comes in, Murdoch comes in, Nunku comes in. So about 6 changes for them from the team we'd played the week before. But that shouldn't lead us into a false sense of security. That's still going to be a difficult side to beat. And it's obviously from the off that Alexander Isak's on form. He's running the Chelsea defence ragged. They're struggling to keep hold of him. So it's no surprise on 23 minutes when he gives us the lead without Chelsea really ever having an inroads into our penalty area at all. And it's super goal, very, very individual goal. And we've no sooner kicked off for that one than he pushes hard for a second, and a shot that was on its way in hits Disasi, the fullback, and deflects it past the Jorgensen, that goalkeeper, to make it 2-0 on 26 minutes. So we're cruising, and however, Chelsea aren't going to lie down. They keep coming at us. The attendance is 51,900, and with nearly 5,000 Chelsea supporters, which is absolutely incredible. It's incredible in the sense that that number is 1,600 over the maximum Premier League allocation. So they were allowed to occupy the part of the top tier, and good business being done by our ticket office to sell those extra tickets. But anyway, we get 2-0. Second half, we just play the game out. Chelsea never looked like equalising or giving us any particular problems, and we run out 2-0 winners, and it's a good progress into the next round of the Carabao Cup. And our next game is a home game in the Premiership against Arsenal, who are knocking on the door, top of the league, fighting very hard with Liverpool and Manchester City. Slight changes in our team: Pope, Livramento, Hall, Burn, Shaw, Longstaff, Joelinton, Willock, Guveresh, Gordon and Isaac. Arsenal, Ria, Timber, Gabriel, Saliba, Partey, Martinelli, Merino, Rice, Saka, Trossard and Havertz. Havertz is a forward who seems to particularly like scoring against Newcastle, but he's also a very awkward character, being involved in a number of incidents that are involved in him or opponents being sent off, particularly when he plays against us. And of course, Merino is ex-Toon, of course, and has came back from Spain to Chelsea for a lot of money. It's to Arsenal for a lot of money. Arsenal are, from the off, are going to be difficult. You can see that there's some really good play. A couple of early chances to Trossard and Saka, which are dealt with by Pope, and a little bit of end-to-end stuff. And it's no surprise in some ways that on 12 minutes, Alexander Isak coasts through the defence and slots in a nice low drive to the underneath the diving rear and gives us a 1-0 lead. And that's how it stays till half time. We've got the lead, and after half time, Arsenal are coming back at us. They think they can get back into the game. Well, they try and try, but we hold on very well, and the 52,000 go home with smiles on their faces with a nice 3 points against a team that's going to be up there at the top at the end of the season. And indeed, some pundits saying that they'll not just be at the top; they will be top. They will be the champions. The next game is an away game at Nottingham Forest, which always an interesting time at City Ground. And of course, added spices that you not only got young Anderson in the team, Chris Wood's now joined Forest as well and playing centre forward for them. So that gives us a bit of spite. We go with Pope, Livermore, Hall, Burns, Shaw, Longstaff, Joelinton, Willock, Guveresh, Gordon, and Isak, and Forest, Sells, Iana, Medovic, Murillo, Moreno, Yates, Dominguez, Delanga, Gibbs, White, Hudson-Odoi, and Wood. And it's interesting to see that also on the bench, of course, is young Anderson, Elliot Anderson, who came from us, and Ward Prowse, who they bought from Southampton. It's an interesting game. First half, it's end to end. But sadly for us, we're careless, and Murillo sneaks in on the blind side and taps in from a very, very poorly taken free kick, which is allowed to bounce around in the area before Murillo toe pokes it into the bottom corner. And we go in 1-0 at half time. Slightly disappointing because we've given as much as good as we got, and should be at least sharing the spoils at this stage. However, after half time, it's almost as though Newcastle comes out, and we really have a go at this. And one of the big changes in the game for me was that from the moment that Sandro Tonali comes on for Willock, and he takes the game by the scruff of the neck and changes things quite dramatically. Then to get equalised, nice individual goal by Isak, and then to put us in front, Joelinton scores a peach of a goal, which I'd like to see him do more. He's hovering just about 5 yards outside the penalty area. Everybody expecting a pass, so instead of making the pass, a left foot shot into the top corner of the goal gives us a win, and it gives us the lead. And everybody thinks that's it, but then we're not done. A great piece of interplay between Tonali and Barnes, and Tonali's through ball lays it on a plate for Barnes to make it 3-1. So an excellent, a really excellent 3 points from Nottingham Forest. Anthony Taylor is the referee, and Geordies, and shouting the house down as usual. In fact, after that match, there was some comment in the press by Nottingham people saying that they could hear the Geordie chanting in the ground long after the match was over, and everybody should have been gone home, but our lot was still in there singing their hearts out. So their reputation goes before them. The next game is a home game against West Ham. West Ham not pulling up trees, not a team we should be thinking of being scared of or losing to, but nonetheless, they're playing some good football. And we play Pope, Livramento, Hall, Kelly, Shaw, Longstaff, Julinton, Willock, Guvarash, Gordon, and Isak. West Ham play Fabianski, Wan-Bissaka, Emerson, Tobio, Kirkman, Soucek, Paqueta, Bowen, Sola, Somerville, and Antonio. Quite a tidy side, and from the off, it's clear that they're going to give us some problem. And lo and behold, on 10 minutes, they get a corner, and Soucek, their defender, heads that in on 10 minutes to give them a 1-0 lead. And we don't seem as though we're really up for it. We're not knocking them back in the way in which we'd hoped for. And so we go in 1-0 at half time. Everybody's clearly hoping in the second half that things have changed quite a bit. They do a little because we make some substitutions, Tonali for Longstaff, Barnes for Willock, and that does make an impact on the team. But we don't seem to be able to put the ball in the back of the net. We can getting right to the penalty area, and then suddenly everything breaks down. And as would be the way of things, 53 minutes of breakaway, and Wan-Bissaka, their fullback, is on the end of a through ball to make it 2-0. And very, very disappointing result for everybody. And 52,094 there, 3,000 from West Ham, and just a disappointing loss. I mean, I think you could feel the disappointment in the ground because of the loss. Because the West Ham are amongst the teams that we should be beating. There's no question about that. And the next game is the away game at Crystal Palace, and again another team which we shouldn't be scared of at all. We go to Palace with Pope, Livramento, Hall, Byrne, Shaw, Linton, Willock, Tonali, Guvarash, Gordon, and Isak. Henderson, Shabata, Lacroix, Guy, Munoz, Hughes, Lamina, Mitchell, Sarr, Eze, and Mateta. And they're playing some good football at this particular juncture. We aren't playing at our best. We're keeping Palace at bay, but that's the best you can say about it. It's not the most brilliant football you've seen, and however, we keep pressing and ultimately it's tenacity by Isak, who has a couple of goals at goal, and the second one happens to hit Gihi on the heel, and of course it goes into the back of the net to give us a lead on 53 minutes. And everybody thinks, oh, that hang on to that, that's 3 points. But unfortunately, we couldn't, because on 90 plus 4, well in the injury time, Munoz sneaks in and gets an equaliser for Palace to make it 1-1. Crowds at Palace are never very big, 25,100, of which 3,000 are the away fans singing their hearts out as usual. Not the best match of the season, but a point nevertheless, which is all that matters in our eyes, I suppose. Then next game is home to Liverpool, which is always going to be an interesting game. Liverpool, of course, at the top of the league, being talked about as the possible next champions, and playing some delightful football. There's no question about that. And with a goal scorer like they have Salah, it's no surprise that they're where they are. So we go out with Paul, Livramento, Burnshaw, Guvaresh, Tonali, Joelinton, Murphy, Gordon, and Isak. And Liverpool have Kelleher, Kwasi, Gomez, Van Dijk, Robertson, Gravenberch, McAllister, Salah, Jones, Gakpo, and Nunes. All out attacking side with great deal of skill. So we've got to be on our mettle for this one. We give as good as we got. It's all end-to-end stuff with this game with Liverpool, and on 35 minutes just before half time, Isak scores a nice goal. Sorry, I rephrase that. A brilliant goal. Nowhere near him. 10 yards out the penalty area, and bang. One of the hardest shots I've seen. And indeed, for me, possibly a goal of the season candidate. Absolutely brilliant. I mean, I don't think the Liverpool goalkeeper moved before the ball was in the back of the net. And so we go in with a 1-0 lead. We then hold on to that. We come out the second half. Neither side any changes, just the same. And then on 50 minutes, just after half time, the defender Jones is up at a corner and manages to squeeze a header in to make an equaliser. Then Anthony Gordon on 62 minutes scores a beautiful goal on the run to make it 2-1. And then within 5 minutes, Mo Salah scored for Liverpool to make it 2-2. 83 minutes, unfortunately, Salah again pops up with his, as he has the habit of doing, to make it 3-2. And then right at the final whistle, 90 minutes, Fabian Schär scores a peach of a goal to make it 3-3. And everybody thinks that's the end of the excitement, but it goes on end to end right until the end. And then for me, one of the most bizarre things I've seen last year was that we got a breakaway, broke down the Liverpool defence, and I think it was Anthony Gordon was about to slide the ball into the back of the net to make it 4-3 when the referee blew the final whistle. Actually stopped the play while we were attacking, which I can't remember seeing ever in a football match again. When there's an opportunity to let the ball play on until it's a dead ball, to stop it at that point, especially when it was an attack on goal, seemed crazy and not right. I think I'm not alone in thinking that that should have been a 4-3 victory to Newcastle United, and we was robbed, as they say. We was robbed. Andy Madley's the referee and got certain amount of criticism for what took place, and rightly so, in my opinion. 52,237, which is jams St James's to the rafters. 3,200 from Liverpool. In a good football match, exciting match, but with a point against them always being worth having, but really should and could have been 3 points because of this idiotic thing of the referee blowing the whistle, almost as though as to watching Anthony Gordon put the ball in the back of the net, which was bizarre to put it bluntly. the commentator on these things always adds some interesting things, and it says that included in the former Magpies attending were David Kelly and Shea Given, and there was war flags demonstration, which was supposed to be a Kevin Keegan tribute, which was changed at the last minute because Kevin wasn't going to be there. But a good point, but in other ways a disappointing point, because they of this peculiar decision by the ref to blow the whistle when he did. The next game's an away game at Brentford, and we're looking forward to this one. Another London trip, and we go with Pope, Livramento, Hall, Byrne, Shaw, Longstaff, Joe Linton, Govaresh, Murphy, Barnes, Isak, Fickelin for Brentford, Fickelin, Vandenberg, Collins, Pinnock, Mobueno, Yamarol, Nordegaard, Lewis Porter, Carvalho, Thiago, and Wissa as the Brentford team, and a team that we shouldn't be scared of. There's nothing in there that should bother us greatly, I remember this game quite well because I watch when I can, before the pre-match things. I like to watch when the teams arrive at the stadium and see what they're like when they get out off the coach. Well, I have to say, before this game, I saw Newcastle coming off the coach. They didn't look a happy bunch, is how I'd describe it. And they didn't play like a happy bunch. We got a lead from, they got a lead from Bueno in 8 minutes. Isak equalised on 11. Wissa scored on 28. Barnes in 32. So we went in 2-2. And we hoped they'd settle down for the second half and see if we could get a win out of it. But in fact, we settled down, but in the wrong way, and virtually gave the game to Brentford. We just weren't in the mix in the second half. It was quite shocking. And on 56 minutes, Collins made it 3-2, and then on 91, just before the final whistle, Chardy made it 4-2. A flattering score in some ways, but a one which was disappointing because we didn't seem to actually compete in the way that we should have done. Interesting with Brentford, of course, a very small stadium, 17,078, and nearly 2,000 of those were Geordies filling the away end. But a disappointing defeat, and as I say, I concerned that before that game we didn't seem to be a happy bunch anyway, so we got to get on with it. So the next game is a home game against Leicester City, and a game that we should put to bed without any bother really. And we go in with Dubravka, Hall, Livramento, Byrne, Shaw, Govaresh, Tonali, Julinton, Murphy, Gordon, and Isak. And Leicester have Hammerson, Justin, Cody, Verdegaard, Christensen, Skip, Chowdhury, Mandidi, El Carnusi, Maktia, and Vardy. And Leicester are in a mess. They're right at the bottom and predicted to go out of the league. And it's not long before we see why, when Murphy takes into the cleaners and scores on 30 minutes. Just after half time, Bruno makes it 2. 50 minutes, Isak makes it 3. And 60 minutes, Murphy makes it 4. 4-0, could easily have been 5-6 or more. That's how dominant we were. But Leicester trying to be dogged as they could, but it really was a poor game from their point of view. And again, even though we have a the bottom team there, 52,235 there, and the Foxes managed to bring 3,000, which is great, really, when you consider the position they were in. That they would bring that many people to St James's. And the next game is home game. Sorry, home game to Aston Villa. Sorry, the Ipswich game was an away game. I'm sorry. Ipswich and the Ipswich away game was really all to do with. No, sorry, I'm sorry, Steve. I've gone a game too far. Leicester City, and then the home game against Brentford in the quarter-final of the Carabao Cup is where we are. I'm sorry about that. I was ahead of myself, and haven't had the bad result against Brentford recently. Everybody was a bit concerned that we'd drawn them in this cup to see how we perform. But we really needn't have worried. We performed extremely well and was a good win. And we played Dravavka, Livramento, Shah, Burnhall, Guvaresh, Tonali, Joelinton, Murphy, Isak and Gordon. Brentford, almost the same as the league team. Finken, Collins, me, Pinnock, Jarrett, Yamaluk, Ajer, Carvalho, Lewis Potter, Was and Shonardi. The big miss was their forward Mwembo didn't play. He was on the bench, so and he was always a danger. We from the off, we're up for this one, and within 10 minutes we've had 2 or 3 shots, and so it's no surprise on. And 9 minutes when a beautiful effort from Tonali nearly burst the Ipswich net to put us 1-0 in the lead. And just before half time, Brentford forget to mark Tonali on the edge of the box, and bang, it's 2-0. So we go in and 2-0 up, and it could have been a lot more than 2. Second half, we come out and we're still dominant. On 69 minutes, another Shah blockbuster makes it 3-0, and we're running out 3-0 winners without any problem. Then right at the death, Wissa, their dangerous fast forward, gets almost the last touch of the game to make it 3-1. But an excellent win and trip into the next round of the Carabao Cup, the quarter final of the Carabao Cup. We have 52,000 in the ground, and very few from Brentford. Disappointing. On the other hand, when you reckon that their capacity crowd at their own stadium's only about 18,000, to expect more than 1,000 come to Newcastle maybe expecting too much. But a good win and a return to form, because our form has been intermittent, is the best way to describe it so far. And we then have an away game at Ipswich Town, and a game which we always enjoy. The relationship between Ipswich Town and Newcastle is a long and an old one, particularly with that man who's on the programme, Sir Bobby Robson. well loved by both fans. But going further back than that, there are many who think that the work that Jackie Milburn done when he was manager of Ipswich laid the grounds for a lot of the good things that they do now. Their beautiful training facilities and so on. So the relationship between the two clubs is a good one. Not a fan of double-ended scarves, but on this occasion, I think it's a one which is appropriate for round Sir Bobby Robson's statue at outside the Ipswich ground, and the one which I think most people would approve of. From the off, we're not in any danger of this game. They really are struggling. They got all sorts of problems. We've got changes. We've got Dubravka, Livramento, Shaw, Burnhall, Tonali, Guvaresh, Willick, Murphy, and Gordon. Ipswich have Murick, Clark, O'Shea, Burgess, Davis, Morsey, Kajusi, Burns, Hutchison, Somodic, and Chaplin. And despite all their efforts, they go very well. They're not making any headway into us. And of course, the stuff was knocked out of them immediately, because on 1 minute, Alexander Isak runs through on his own, unchallenged, and makes it 1-0 to Newcastle within the first minute. The lots of other chances whizzing around their goal, nothing on ours. Dubravka could shut up shop and go home. It's so quiet in his penalty area. 32 minutes, Jacob Murphy scores a nice goal to make it 2-0. And then just before half time, Alexander Isak makes it 3. And barely time to get the ball out the net before the half time whistle goes. And it's 3-0. Everybody expecting a cricket score in the second half. Well, we played well, but we contained things rather than going for the jugular. And on 54 minutes, Alexander Isak scores another nice goal to complete his hat trick. And we have a tidy win under our belts, which is very much appreciated by all concerned. We really played well in this game. 29,700 at the game, 3,000 of those from the away end at Ipswich, and a game which looks like we might be getting a bit of form back, because our form to date has been a bit patchy. We next are at home to Aston Villa. Never an easy game. Always a game with lots of spice, and this one no different. We have Grabavka, Hall, Trippier, Burns, Shaw, Guvaresh, Tonali, Julian, Murphy, Gordon, and Isak. Villa, Martinez, Cash, Konsa, Torres, Dingy, Kamara, Onana, McGinn, Telemans, Rogers, and Duran. And it's obvious from the off that Newcastle up for it, and within 2 minutes, Anthony Gordon makes it 1-0, settles the nerves a bit, and then after that, there's a bit of end-to-end stuff. However, it's noticeable that whenever Duran and Shaw get anywhere near each other, there's lots of handbags and pushing and shoving and all that sort of thing, and it goes on through the half, and it seemed inevitable that something might happen. Well, something did when Shaw was going to play a ball back to Dubravka, and Duran tackled him from behind and then proceeded to walk over the top of him and was instantly sent off. So giving us a huge advantage for the rest of the game. But a stupid piece of football by Duran. You can see he was claiming he didn't see Shaw. It was accidentally, but he actually placed his foot well and truly in the middle of Shaw's back. Lucky he didn't cause him more injury than he did. After that, it's Villa being backs to the wall with a single striker and us trying to break them down, and it's proving difficult. But on 69 minutes, Isaac takes a nice ball from Tonali and makes it 2, and then towards the end, another Joe Linton cracker just before the final whistle to make it 3-0. So a good 3-0 victory over Villa. Another team that will be, people seem to think will be pushing very hard to be at the top of the league, on spirit alone, it looks as though that's a real possibility, even though we've beaten them on this occasion. 52,500 in the ground, 52,100 in the ground, and 3,000 of them Aston Villa fans, which is nice to see. So we're now heading to Manchester United, one of our favourite away games, although always an exciting trip to Old Trafford, no question about that. We go with a slightly changed team: Dubravka, Trippier, Shaw, Burn, Hall, Tonali, Guveresh, Linton, Murphy, Isak and Gordon. Manchester United, Onana, Delight, Maguire, Martinez, Mazzaroli, Ericsson, Casemiro, Dalot, Dalio, Xerxes and Hoyland. It's end-to-end stuff almost from the kickoff, which is great. Manchester United being caught on the break as early as 4 minutes, and Isak, without any shadow of a doubt, got the chance and smacked it into the back of the net to give us a very early 1-0 win. Seemed to knock the stuffing out of Manchester United a little bit, because they sat back and didn't really come at us. And the first occasion they did, they left the back door open, because Joe Linton was able to stride in and make it 2-0 with ease. And that's how it stayed until half time. After the half time cup of tea, there's Manchester had a go, but they couldn't pull us out or make any inroads into the game. So we ended with a nice 2-0 win at Manchester United, and 73,800 at the game, and of course 3,000 black and whites cheering the lads on. Chant of the day: "You've seen the real United, now go home." That's the polite version from our fans, which I thought was a nice touch. And the reporter says that he was happy to be in the crowd with two former Magpie players, Mark Gillespie and Paul Dummett, who were there to observe the game. Well, Mark Gillespie was in the away end for, I don't know. He surely could have got a ticket, but anyway, he preferred to go with the fans, and that's a nice touch. But a good 2-0 win for us against Manchester United. The next game is an away game at Tottenham, and we're looking forward to this one because they give us a really good game at St James's, and we hoping that we can do the same at that Tottenham ground, the beautiful new stadium that they have, and it's no question that they're looking to turn things on for the crowd in this new stadium, but they're not having much luck. They're losing more games than they're winning, unfortunately, which is a good thing for us. Anyway, we go with Dubravka, Lamentro, Botman, Byrne, Hall, Tonali, Kluveresh, Joelinton, Murphy, Isak and Gordon. Tottenham have Austin, Porro, Dragusin, Gray, Spence, Sarr, Bengali, Johnson, Koreski, Werner and Solanke, who they've just bought for 60 million from Bournemouth. And someone we were being touted as we should think about by the pundits, that we should think about looking at, but not for 60 million, I'm afraid. And it's a good game. It sets off at 100 miles an hour. We wonder how many goals is going to be scored, because in 4 minutes, Solanke scores his debut goal for Tottenham from a really messy corner. The ball bobbles around, it'll eventually lands at his feet, and he manages to toe poke it underneath Dubravka. Then 6 minutes, and Anthony Gordon just outruns the defence to make it 1-1. And then a little bit later, with lots of end-to-end stuff and chances for both teams, Alexander Isak on 38 minutes runs through the Spurs defence and makes it 2-1. Second half, everybody's expecting more fireworks, but it quietens down, and it's quite clear that we're happy to play out for the 2-1 win, and that's exactly what we do, because Spurs never looked like they were going to do anything about this. They were lackluster, don't even describe it, and Solanke was never any more in the game. 61,200 in the Tottenham Stadium, and again the full 3,000 tickets sold for our club, and out singing, out shouting the Tottenham fans as usual. But a good victory, and a one which we deserved, is how I describe it. We're now ready for the first leg of the semi-final of the Carabao Cup against Arsenal, and games at the Emirates are never going to be easy, and nobody's expecting big things of us in this particular game. Certainly the pundits are almost making it a walkover for Arsenal, and that's quite unfair, to say the least, because we've been playing well and we always give them a good game. So we go to the Emirates with Dubravka, Livramento, Botman, Byrne, Hall, Tonali, Willock, Joelinton, Murphy, Isak and Gordon. And to many, and I've got to say including me, to see Botman in the team was great, but something of a surprise because he's still coming back very slowly from quite a bad injury. But to see him there was absolutely wonderful. And Arsenal, of course, Ria, Lewis, Skelly, Gabriel, Sabila, Timber, Rice, Partey, Odegaard, Martinelli, Havertz and Trossard. And attacking wise, Arsenal getting most of the ball, and for 20 minutes it felt as though we were hardly ever out of our half. The Arsenal team were pressing so hard, but then a decent break down the right hand side and and ended up at Jacob Murphy's feet, and a superb cross into the centre. Who did he find but Isak? And on 37 minutes, we're 1-0 in the lead. And I think most of the Arsenal fans must have been scratching their heads, wondering where the devil did that come from, because it was a clinical break, good football, and an excellent take by Isak to put us 1-0 in the lead. And Arsenal, of course, are G'd up by that and put us under even more pressure. But we seem to be able to play that pressure out. And for me, with Botman at the centre and his calm, cool, and collected style, has actually given us a lot to hang on to, and well worth hanging on to. So we get to half time, still 1-0. Second half, people are expecting Arsenal to come out with some fireworks, and they do. They press us very, very hard indeed. But again, with Botman at the centre, taking the weight off everybody, he's just shown what a talent we've missed while he's been off. And so we're backs to the wall, and Eddie's played a very, very tight defensive setup, but a one which is working for frustrating Arsenal terribly, and we're still getting the odd break. And then on 51 minutes, it's another superb break, and again the cross from the right, Jacob Murphy, and it eventually lands at the feet of Anthony Gordon, who pokes it in to make it 2-0. And again, the Arsenal fans must be wondering what their team's got to do, because they've got percentage-wise over 80% of the possession, which seems incredible for a match between two Premiership teams. And yet the one with the low percentage possession is now 2-0 in the lead, and don't look like losing that lead. Arsenal are huffing and puffing as best they can, but they can't do anything about it. And we run out at the end, 2-0 winners, and deservingly so. The way we played. John Brooks is the referee. 59,000 in the Emirates, and full house, 6,000 Geordies shouting the house down, singing their hearts out, and seeing what was an absolutely great victory. There's no doubt about it. Certainly turned the heads of the pundits, because according to some of them, we needn't have turned up. It was going to be an Arsenal victory, which was quite not the script that they were expecting. But then that's what Newcastle are good at. So we now have the FACup third round at home to Bromley, and pundits reminding us again and again of the Hendons, the Wigans, all the teams that have given us a headache in the FACup. And of course, the number of times the Ronnie Radford goal gets played before these matches is just incredible. And of course, the interesting thing about this particular game is that the manager of Bromley is a former Newcastle goalkeeper, of course, and the one whose son also played for us, which is Woodman, which is incredible. So we go to this FACup match with Dubravka, Trippier, Shaw, Kelly, Target, Longstaff, Miley, Joe Linton, Almiron, Usala, and Barnes. Bromley, Smith, Reynolds, Suomi, Emery, Emre, Arthurs, Thomason, Udobi, Coggrave, Cheek, and Whitley. Cheek's a big centre forward and has gained quite a reputation because of his rapid progress through football, from Sunday football to Football League in a matter of 3 or 4 years. And the interesting thing is, everywhere he's gone, though, he's scored goals, which has given him quite a reputation. It's fairly dour in the first half, but made interesting because Congreve gives them an 8-minute lead, which absolutely sets the top tier on fire in terms of excitement and gets the nerves jangling down below with all of us. And it's not a brilliant game, but a typical dour cup tie in that sense that they're flooding midfield even more because they've got this lead. But on 16 minutes, there's a chance on the edge of the penalty area. It's picked up by Lewis Miley, who cracks in an unstoppable drive in the far corner to make it 1-1 for half time. And that's how it stays at half time. We come out second half and clearly intent on finishing this game off. And we change Gordon for Barnes and Guvaresh for Joe Linton, and then eventually Hall for Longstaff. And it makes little difference. We're pushing forward a little more and giving Bromley more things to think about. And then on 49 minutes, we get a penalty area. Anthony Gordon slots that away to make it 2. And on 61 minutes, there's a cross in, and there's an absolute bullet header from Will Asula to make it 3. And a comfortable win gets us out of the sweaty pants area with non-league players. Interestingly, 52,100 in the ground, and all credit to Bromley. 3,000 tickets sold, and the top tier just about filled, which is more than some Premiership teams do. So well done, Bromley, and well done us as well. So we're next with Wolves at home in the Premiership, and revert to a normal league team as such, with Dravaka, Hall, Livramento, Byrne, Botman, Guvaresh, Tonali, Jolinton, Murphy, Gordon, and Isak, with the Sala retreating to the bench, and with Wolves with Josie Sarr, Agadou, Bueno, Doherty, Al Nouri, Joao Gomez, Andre, Rodrigo Gomez, Chan, Gudesh, and Larson as the Wolves team. A tidy football team, but one that really shouldn't bother us. And from the off, it's clear that Newcastle are up for this, and oodles of chances going and begging, and people are beginning to think, well, is it going to be one of those games where all the chances get missing and we end up with a drab 0-0? But on 34 minutes, Alexander Isak starts to put that right by scoring a peach of a goal from the just about the penalty spot, totally unmarked, and he slots the ball in without any bother at all. 1-0 at half time. The second half, Newcastle have upped the pace a little bit, so it's no surprise on 57 minutes when Alexander Isak scores his second, and then on 74 minutes, a beautiful solo goal by Anthony Gordon to make it 3. And second half, Wolves really weren't in the game, and Darren England, the referee, and 52,000 exactly in the ground. Only 1,300 from Wolves away supporters, which is sad, but when you compare that with the 3,000 that came with Bromley, it's more than sad in some ways. And the reporter who writes these things is delighted or had that he'd met Shea Given and Peter Lovenkrands in the ground during the game. So we then have another home game hot on the heels of that to look forward to, the Bournemouth. and game that we should really be winning, but we have not for a first time for a long time an unchanged team, with Bournemouth playing Azibaga, Cook, Zambini, Hussein, Kirkes, Christie, Adams, Brooks, Clivert, Semino, and Utara in the Bournemouth team. And from the off, Bournemouth very, very busy, causing us all sorts of problems. Slight forwards, not playing to big men, or just small, quick, very talented ball players in front line, and as a warning to things to come, young Clivert takes the ball and just leaves our defence standing, and makes it 1-0 to Bournemouth. 25 minutes, Bruno equalises, but we're still struggling to contain Bournemouth. They seem to have been set up by the manager in a way in which gives them plenty of room and is causing our midfield lots of problems. Well, they're just being clever at missing our midfield out, and we don't seem to be able to respond to that. So it's 44 minutes. Clivert again makes it 2-1 at half time, and despite the huffing and puffing, they repeat the dose after half time, and just before the end, Clivert scores another one to get his hat trick, and then right at the death, 96 minutes it says here, Caverts makes it 4. So 4-1 lots to Bournemouth was quite depressing, and the one was totally unexpected, and we never seen in the game. It really was that depressing. It never looked like we were going to win the game. 52,200 in the ground, of which 1,700 were from Bournemouth. And next game is a away game to Southampton, and we go there with some trepidation, even though Southampton are playing very, very poor. We after a result like that at Bournemouth, we're not looking at our best, shall we say. However, off we go with Dubravka, Livramento, Sharburn, Hall, Tonali, Guveresh, Jolinton, Murphy, Isak, and Gordon. And with Southampton, McCarthy, Bree, Bedenek, Harwood, Bells, who's now the established England centre-back, Walker, Peters, Kuchu, Anu, Manning, Fernandez, Unachu, and Armstrong, who we know a lot about, of course. And as if to cement our nerves or irritate our nerves, Bedenek on 10 minutes gives Southampton the lead, and they're playing very well and making us look very stationary. But within half an hour, at 20 minutes or so, we're starting to break through the defence with regularity. So it's no surprise on 26 minutes when Isak scores a peach of a goal to make it 1-1. And then only 2 minutes later, Isak going through on goal is brought down by Howard Bellis, the big centre-back. And it's a penalty, and Isak stands up and takes that to make it 2-1 at half time, and that's how it stays. The second half, we actually take the game from Southampton. There's no way they're going to get back into this game. We playing them off the pitch, but can't put the ball in the net until 51 minutes. Tonali gets it and puts a real corker into the bottom corner from the edge of the box, and we end up with 3-1, and that's how we finish at the very end of it. It's 31,100 at the game. And of course, without looking at the numbers, that also means 3,000 Newcastle supporters in the ground. And we have one more game, and then Fulham at home, and a game which, because of the way Fulham almost destroyed us at Craven Cottage, it's not a game most people are looking forward to, and yet it's a game we should be winning. But it's the script's almost written. I mean, it's we course the first half, and Jacob Murphy gets a nice goal to make it 1-0 at half time, and everybody's comfortable. But second half, we seem to go asleep, and Jimenez on 62 makes it 1-1, and we wonder. Some of us, including me, we're struggling to imagine what we're seeing. This is the different team that just did what it did the week before, and now sliding back into a routine which we don't recognise. The team's unchanged that we'd had before, so we can't be just looking at changes. Fulham team is almost the team, is exactly the team that played us at Craven Cottage. And towards the end of this game, they're starting to take the game off us. And sure enough, on 83 minutes, Muniz makes it 2-1 to Fulham, and we end up with a very, very disappointing defeat, which I know many fans thought that this was very disappointing, more about attitude than it was about the actual defeat. But never mind, it's something we've got to sort out quick, because we've got very important things coming up, and so important that we have the return of the second semi-final leg of Arsenal, and why don't we leave that as the starting point for the next session, part 2 of this season, because it just gets more exciting after that.
Great
so
stuff.
We'll leave it at that and go forward for the next one.
Great stuff, George. Looking forward to part 2. Thanks very much for your time. Don't forget, tomorrow night, 5 o'clock, the Amigos, and Sunday night, 5 o'clock, the Professionals. George, for now, thanks for your time. Take care, mate.
Thanks, Steve. See you soon.
A big thanks to all our sponsors, Skips and Bins. You can find them at their website, skipsandbins.com. Contact them at www.skipsandbins.com/contact. Say hello to low-cost waste disposal with pay-as-you-go and contract waste management. A big thanks to Mr. Vicky's Sauces, handmade in Cumbria. You can find them at their website, mrvickies.co.uk, email info@mrvickies.co.uk, or telephone 01768 210 102. Thanks to our fanzine sponsor, United Group Travel. There are no strangers on our tours, just friends you haven't met yet. 2 crew driver and courier, local family company, 3-star plus quality hotels and no interchanges. Hot and cold snacks and drinks available on the coach, all excursions included. Their website, unitedgrouptravel.com, email beverly.ugtl@gmail.com, telephone 01670 632 460 or 0791 666 4174. Just £30 per person deposit. Thanks to Media Arts for all the help with the technical side of things. And if you like listening to us as a podcast, you can go to Sports Social Podcast Network or to iTunes, Spotify, or other podcast providers. If you want to support the show, then hit the subscribe button. It's free. We do 7 shows a week. Hit the little thumb up under the video, which is the like button, or click share to share to your social media. You can also join the channel on YouTube by hitting the join button for as little as $1.99 a month. If you want to become an NUFC Matters member, you can go to nufcmatterspodcast.co.uk. It's a £25 one-off fee. You get your pen, you get your badge, a key ring, you get your beer mat, and your fridge magnet and your membership card, nufcmatters.co.uk for that. And we have an event early next year, 13th of February 2026, an evening with Beardsley, Waddle and Gascoigne takes place at the Tyne Theatre and Opera House. To buy your tickets for that event, go to the box office 0191 243 1171 or Tyne Theatre and Opera House.uk.
Yeah.